Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to episode 212 of the FAB and Fearless Business Booster Shot Show. My name is Yinka. I'm a business strategist, a coach, a speaker, and an incoming author. And I support women to create wealth in and through their businesses by helping them to focus on what matters most for the business, which is cash flow and strategy, and what matters most for the business owner, which is mindset and habits. It is both my pleasure and privilege to welcome you to this 212th episode of the show, where each week at 1:30 p.m. UK time on a Wednesday, I come to you with a short, sharp shot to boost both you and your business with one powerful truth and one actionable tip. So if you can see, hear, and if you can see and hear me over on my LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube socials, jump into the chat. Come and say hello. Let us get this party started. I would be very grateful to see if anyone is around. The tech has been teching again. I can't see this over on my LinkedIn. I will just double check it again. But if you can see and hear me over on Facebook and on YouTube, all good. We are ready to rock and roll. I definitely don't want the LinkedIn fam to miss the party. But that said, oh, hello, there's me. How exciting. And burnt orange is clearly my color. Love to see it. Okay, cool. So we are indeed live over on LinkedIn. So let me just check if I'm live over on Facebook and YouTube. If you can see me already and hear me already, please just jump into the chat. Let me know that. And yeah, let's get this party started. I am really excited to share today's topic, which is the dangers of good intentions. And I have an interesting story to share with you today, especially in this area of the world. So I can see myself over on LinkedIn, and I'm excited that is the case, although I've had exactly zero opportunity to share any of this. I don't know why it didn't bring the event up before the start of the broadcast, but all good. At least we know for sure that is working, and that is fab. So let me just check if I am indeed live over on Facebook. Yay, I can see me too. I can see that there's a little bit of a lag. So let's get going. Even if I am talking to nobody live, and I can already see that there are people who are with me live, but they are shy and not jumping in the chat right now. And that's cool. I know for sure that there will be plenty of people enjoying this on Team Replay. So today I want to talk about the dangers of good intentions. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I am in the space of improving businesses, improving lives, improving bank accounts, getting that cash flow sorted. It's really important. And so I spend a lot of time with people who claim and state that they want things to be better. And I am really glad about that. I think that to grow and to change is a part of life, and growth is definitely a very important part of what it means to be human. And so growth, change, amazing. The opportunities for that, fabulous. And I'm really excited by everything that is entailed when we make the decision that we want to be people who are improving our lives, changing things for the better. That is really important. And so the first thing I want to say is that everybody has good intentions, even the worst people in the world. People who have done incredibly terrible atrocities were never thinking about their actions and behaviors in alignment with it being an atrocity. They were thinking about trying to be loved, trying to be understood, feeding their ego, being all powerful, which again, a lot of those conversations and activities all come down to interesting relationships with father and mother. But the point I'm trying to make here is that to have good intentions is human. It is part of the human story, and it's an important part of the human story. Everyone has and should have good intentions. And yet, given that I've just said, and the title of this episode today is The Dangers of Good Intentions, this tells us that there is more to the story than simply having those intentions. One of the most dangerous things, and I want you to hear me clearly when I say this, because I'm not the only person who thinks this. There is literally a saying that says, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like, it is literally the paving stones on which you walk on your way to hell. And it was an idiom that I learned quite early in my life. And I always used to think about it in really deep terms. I was like, well, if their intentions are good, like, why are they going to hell? Why do good intentions pave the road to hell? And this is part of where the idea of the danger comes in. Because the fact is that good intentions do not always correlate to good actions. As I said before, I haven't mentioned any specific names because whoever I do mention will offend somebody. And to be honest, I need you to listen to the message more than I need you to be offended by the name of the person I mentioned. But the thing I need you to understand is that just because you having good intentions doesn't mean that that correlates and turns into good actions. Very good intentions have resulted in some very bad actions. So that's the first thing. Part of the danger of good intentions is thinking that good intentions, therefore everything else that comes from that is good. No, because I don't, that it is rare. And I'm not saying that it is never happens, but more often than not, people have good intentions. But good intentions do not lead to good impact. There are many people with good intentions that have had terrible impact. And so that is one of the dangers. But the other danger of good intentions is how our brain works around them. Our brains tell some really interesting stories when we set these good intentions and when we intend to do these good things. Our brain plays some incredible tricks on us, and really kind of hypes us up on dopamine. And I had a really powerful and interesting experience over the last couple of days in my space that I want to share with you, as a brilliant example of what happens with good intentions. And so my father had his birthday last week. Yeah, happy birthday, pups. I was incredibly excited. I am very much a daddy's girl. But even more importantly, my father had recently been quite ill. And so because he'd recently been quite ill, they told us that there was a day when they told us that that would be his last. And so every time he gets to a new birthday, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And so one of the things that I always wanted to make sure happened in my business is whenever I have something to celebrate, I want to make sure that I gift and I share the love and I share the good vibes. So I often share opportunities for gifts, presents, experiences, that kind of thing in my business whenever I'm celebrating. And I did that last week. I made the most phenomenal roundtable masterclass available. I did a masterclass on pricing. It is 60 minutes and 1 second long. So yeah, it's a 1 hour masterclass. And I just broke down pricing. I broke down what I have seen over the years and how people get it wrong. I broke down why people get it wrong. I broke down how they can get it right. It is one hell of a brilliant masterclass, even if I do say so myself. Now, obviously, I'm fully aware that I would say that it's brilliant. But the reason I know it's brilliant is because even though I was the person who created it, I still go back and watch it as a student. So I still go back to remind myself of these things. Hi, Naka. Lovely to have you. Thank you very much for joining me over on LinkedIn. It is great to have you in the room. And yeah, thank you for sharing that you are here with me. How are you doing? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, oh, Yinka, things could not be any worse. 10 being, woo, Yinka, things could not be any better. Let me know how you are doing today. Hello, LinkedIn user who has just said, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Look, all these messages are coming through. I love this. LinkedIn has just woken up to the party. I suspect possibly one of them is Sonia. One of them is Sharon. And I am so grateful for you ladies to be in the room with me today. I don't know at what point you joined. whether it was at the start and LinkedIn is just being really slow on the messages, or whether you've just arrived. But I'm sharing more on the dangers of good intentions. And the first thing I shared is that one of the reasons why good intentions is so dangerous is because good intentions doesn't always lead to good impact. That we have a history, a litany of evidence that shows us that people have had good intentions and had terrible, catastrophic impact. And so that's one of the dangers of good intentions. And the second danger that I was just in the middle of sharing about was about how our brains are tricked by good intentions. And so I was sharing that last week was my Pops' birthday. Yes. And as a result of it being my Pops' birthday, I shared access to a brilliant masterclass. Hey, Geeta, thank you very much for joining today. It is so good to have you in the room too. I just wanted to check what your name was because it was coming up as a LinkedIn user and I don't know who that is. So I shared this masterclass for free. And this masterclass, ordinarily, when you want to purchase it, is £150. So I was giving out this £150 masterclass for free, and I was really excited. And I said, you know, if you leave the message, "Happy birthday, Uncle Joe," I'll send this to you for free. And not only will I send it to you for free, but I won't paywall it or block it in any way. You don't have to give me your email. You just have to click on the link to watch it. And then the only thing I ask of you is to come back to me and share your biggest takeaway from what you saw. That was it. If you watch it, just tell me your biggest takeaway. So, ladies and gents, I was so excited. So many women stepped forward for that gift, like probably about 60 women. And I was so excited. I went through, my team and I went through, and we literally sent every single one of them a copy to access this masterclass. Very excited. They all had this passionate and powerful intention to really shift their knowledge about pricing, to make changes in their business, to explore and understand what was going on. Hello, fabulous Lorati. Thank you for joining us today. So, ladies and gents, 60 women stepped forward for my free masterclass gift last week. I would love for you, drop in the chat and let me know the number of women that you think actually, one, watched the masterclass, and two, came back to tell me their biggest takeaway. Tell me how many women out of 60 you think actually did that thing. I am very excited to share this particular insight with me. Hey, Lorati, lovely to have you here. Awesome lady. How many women do you think 60 steps forward? So, there's a good sizable number of women who had that powerful intention, had access to a £150 pound masterclass. And while you are coming up with your guess, I want you to do the maths on this, because if 150 if 60 people paid £150 for that masterclass, that would have been a £9,000 benefit to my business. And that was, so I gave a £9,000 gift for free. And obviously each person, it was 150 to them, but yeah, I gave it for free, and forwent the 9,000. Guess how many of these fabulous women actually watched the masterclass and came back to me to tell me their biggest takeaway? It was about 8. I'm tempted to say 9, but I'm going to put it at about 8. So out of 60 women who all had that incredible intention, who saw the value, who had the opportunity to access this £150 masterclass for free, 8 of them watched it and told me, proactively came back to tell me their masterclass insights. 8. Another 2, when I went back and checked, another 2, after I had reached back out to them, then shared with me what their biggest takeaway was. And I was really excited. So in total, 10 out of 60 turned their good intentions into positive actions. Do the maths on that. That's 17%, or 16.66666% of those women. You were assuming 60, Gita. I was assuming 62. And you know why we were assuming 60? Because that's the kind of people we are. We are the kinds of people who, when someone says, go watch this thing, it will be good for you, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be good for me. You haven't even, like, you barely sat down before you've already started doing the thing. Now, I'm one of those people. I'm like really annoying. I would have watched it on 1.25 speed. So it would have been 42 minutes long, and I would have listened to the whole thing, and I would have gone back. I am a highly compliant person. On the disc profile, I have very, very high C. I'm a very, very blue person in the color version of it. So, and I assume that most people are like that. Lorati said 2. No, it was about 8. But 8 out of 60 is ridiculous. 8 out of 60 is ridiculous. 10 out of 60 is ridiculous. And so, as the fortune is in the follow up, I always tell my clients to go and follow up on things. So I went to follow up and I was like, what happened? What happened? Do you know how many women came back to me and said, oh, I didn't realize it was time sensitive? I don't know why they didn't realize it was time sensitive. I said it in the post. I said it in the message. I said it above the link they had to click on. Oh my gosh, I had problems with the link. I'm not suggesting they didn't have problems with the link. What I am suggesting is that if you had problems with the link and you wanted to watch it, then message me back. Because the one person who did message me back having problems with the link, we were able to work out what she had done on her side, fix it, and she watched the masterclass. So many women had incredible intentions to watch this masterclass, and 10 of them actually did. And that's because when they put their hand up and they said, I really want to watch this masterclass, their brains were flooded with dopamine. Oh my gosh, you just made an incredible decision. You are incredible. You are amazing. It's already done. They got duped by the dopamine. And that's that the brain rewards you for the anticipation, or at least that you get flooded with dopamine for the anticipation, not for the execution and completion. And so the dangers of good intentions is that dopamine will trick you into thinking you did a thing when you ain't done anything yet. Let me know in the chat if this is resonating with you. Let me know in the chat if you have seen yourself do this in the past. You sign up for a new course, a new opportunity, and you're like, yes, this is brilliant. And then you don't even get the chance to open it, or you start it and you don't complete it. That's the danger of good intentions. So Luati says, okay, so more than I thought, but as little as expected. Yeah, my mind was blown. My mind was actually blown. And I had to take a minute, get over like the feeling offended, because they weren't, it wasn't anything to do with me. But I was like, can you not see that this is an incredible opportunity? But clearly it wasn't even about that. It was about the good intentions. Their brain had already rewarded them for sticking their hand up. And therein lies the issue, ladies and gents. Because as I said, you get duped by the dopamine. You get the feel good for putting your hand up. It's much harder to actually listen to the masterclass, actually consider what to do with your pricing, and actually then make a shift for the better. That's way harder. There is no singing and dancing in your brain for any of those activities, although that is what it takes to get better. Can you see, ladies and gents, how our brains will trick us? Oh my gosh, I've got these amazing intentions. How fantastic. Oh, I put my hand up and I've got this incredible resource. They had this resource for 3 days, 72 hours. I was asking for one of those 72 hours, or less than one if they watched it on 1.25 speed. And yet so many of them had stories for days. Oh, I got busy. I did this thing over the weekend. It was so sweet. Someone was like, oh my gosh, I did this thing over the weekend. Funnily enough, my dad's birthday was on a Tuesday. This particular offer was closed. I closed the video by Friday. So whatever was happening at the weekend was not relevant. They couldn't have watched it at the weekend even if they wanted to. Can you see, ladies and gents, what happens with our good intentions? If we do, this is where James Clear's famous quote becomes really poignant, because you do not rise to the level of your goals. You do not rise to the level of what you desire. You fall to the level of your systems, your standards, and the structures you put in place to support you to actually reach those goals. The women who actually watched the masterclass made time to do so. They either did it straight away, or they put time in the diary, or they set it up. Those who were committed did so even in the face of obstacles and challenges. And so the dangers of good intentions is that you get duped by dopamine and your brain's like, you are amazing, and nothing has happened. And because nothing has happened, you stay exactly where you are, feeling smug for about 10 seconds, but then frustrated after the fact because you're like, I had the good intention. I stuck my hand up for the thing. Why isn't anything getting better? Because nothing changes if nothing changes. Let me know in the chat if you are picking up what I'm putting down. Because the thing I need you to really understand, and the one powerful truth I want to remind you of, is good intentions are not enough. Good intentions are not enough. How you do anything is how you do everything. And sticking up your hand to waste a £150 masterclass is really neither here nor there. That's a tiny example of how that is showing up in your life. That will show up in many other much more expensive places. It will show up in your health. It will show up in your wealth. It will show up in your relationships. It will show up, and that is a debit that you are making against your future self. Your future self is going to pay for all of the times that you keep saying you want to do things and not doing them, having these good intentions and not actually following through. And I see this so often in the world that I'm in, helping women to create consistent cash flow, helping women to scale their businesses so that they will create one that leaves them feeling rich and rested. I see people do this all the time. They're like, yeah, I want to work with you. Yeah, I need to sort this out. Yes, this is important to me. So let's take actions then. Oh, talking to me? They will do any and everything except the thing that needs to be done. And then when the time comes, they'll be like, well, life be lifing. You know what? Spoiler alert. I do not know a person for whom life isn't lifing. I don't know one person who isn't going through it in their lives. There is no oppression Olympics. So I'm not going to say yours is more or less than theirs. Life lives. That's its job description. Leave life to do what it is doing. Life is always going to life. That's the reason why you need to do it, not a reason not to do so. Oh, yeah, I'm busy. Yes, everybody, you and everybody else. And yet we make time for the things that are important to us. So the truth is, it's not yet a priority. And to be honest, and of course I would say this, but that's a mistake. It is a mistake not to prioritize your cash flow, because your cash flow in your business impacts the cash flow in your life. And if you don't focus on your cash flow by choice, you will end up focusing on your cash flow by force. It's not going to go away. Either you control the conversation or it will. And so, as I said, I hear this all the time. I speak to women all the time. This is really important. Now is my time. I need to do this until it comes time to actually do this. And they get caught in the dangers of those good intentions over and over again. And this is the thing, as I said to you before, very few people wake up with bad intentions. There are many, but then as a proportion of the world, they're not as many as you think. So most people have good intentions, but they're not enough. As I looked at the 50 women who stuck their hands up and said, oh, I want to watch it, and didn't watch it. As I said, full disclosure, I had a moment. I was like, what is up with these women? Why are people like this? And then I was like, pause, you can calm down. Because when all said and done, we don't get what we want. We get who we are. Some women faced obstacles and said nothing and went about their days. and then made excuses later on. Other women faced exactly the same obstacles and reached out to get support to overcome them, watched the masterclass, have put up their prices, and have already sold something at a higher price point. Some people got busy. Other people also got busy and decided that actually I'm gonna bolt this on to the next thing that I'm doing. So for every reason that you tell yourself that you can't do something, there is somebody out there who is doing it anyway. And yet, when things are hard, they will say it's the government, it's policy, it's the marketplace, it's summer, it's August, it's quiet now. No, it's not any of those things, babes. It's you. It is you. You are the person that you have been waiting for. You are the hero you've been waiting for. You are the person standing in your own way. You are who is going to completely transform everything that is to come for you. You, it's you, just you. And so the question you want to ask yourself, and this is the practical tip I want to give you, is to ask yourself, what kind of person am I? You know, you have like one of the things I love about the Bible is the parables. The parables are incredibly powerful because they categorize people for us. And I kind of feel that this one is also a bit of a parable for me. There were people who took the instructions, ran with them. They got back to me in less than an hour. There were other people who took the instructions. I had to follow up, but they still did the thing. Then there were other people who didn't even come back to the link to check it before it expired. There were people who were like, oh, I started, but I didn't finish. I didn't realize that it was time sensitive, even though the time sensitivity was written on top of the link. And that's the thing. The world is full of different types of people. That's important, that's valid, and that is true. But the thing is that what type of person are you? And is that the type of person that will create the results that you want for yourself? I love what Geeta said earlier, because she was like, I would have thought 60. I would have thought 60 because I would have been like, it would never occur to me to miss out on what I perceive, what I decided for myself was an opportunity. No, I'm not that person. But everybody isn't me. And judging people by your own standards is its own kind of problem. So, what we get to think about and what we get to remember is that it's us, it's all us. We are who we've been waiting for. We are who makes the biggest difference to our business, to our bank account, and to our lives. And so, while that is everything I wanted to share with you today, I also want to remind you that you have 3 options with what I've just shared. You can do nothing, be like, yeah, Yinka was cool on yet another Wednesday afternoon, fabulous. But you can't unhear what you've just heard. So it's not like you're going to go back to how things are. But what I will say for sure is that you will continue in what you're doing, slightly more frustrated because you cannot unhear what you've just heard. So the second option you have is to go and do something about it. Actually start auditing and having a look at how this impacts you, where this is showing up for you, places that you are having good intentions but not taking action, not following through, and not getting good impact. But you know what? Doing stuff alone is hard, especially if you don't have a blueprint and you don't know fully what you're doing. Now, in full disclosure, you're a smart person. You've done incredible things. You don't need anyone's help. You can get this done, but it will take you longer. It might get hard and you might end up giving up, for taking you back to the do nothing category. The fact is that 80% of people will do nothing. The numbers show it. So you can do nothing or do it alone. The final option you have is to get some help from someone who understands how this works, from someone who has developed a blueprint to not only help you to fulfill on your good intentions, but to see powerful, impactful opportunities out of the actions that you're taking. And that person, in the context of this particular video, is me. I support women to create massive impact in their businesses and to shift their trajectory for the better when it comes to their business, their bank account, and their lives. So if you want to find out more about how my work could help you, feel free, slide into my DMs. The word you want is good, so that I know that you came from this video. And that will enable us, that we can definitely start a conversation. I'd love to hear a bit more about your business. I'm going to ask you a bit more about your business, because I work in a number of different ways with different women at different levels, all the way from, oh, I have an idea for a business, all the way up to multi-7 and 8-figure business owners. So I'll need to know what the right start point is for you. But yeah, you have the opportunity to explore that with me. And so, ladies and gents, that is everything I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for joining me live. Thank you for jumping in the chat. Naka, I can see you. Gita, I see that you had to leave. Loratu, it's been so good to have you in the room with me today. Thank you so much. Please jump into the chat, the comments, share your biggest takeaway, tag a friend, tag someone who you know they have a heart to see good things in this world for themselves and for others. And yet, if they're not quite seeing all of the results that they want, then maybe it's time for them to narrow the gap between their intentions and their impact. Tag a friend that you think could really benefit from this. And I look forward to seeing you in the spaces. Take care. Have a good one.